The lights burned my eyes. I stood frozen in the back of the auditorium as applause thundered around me. On stage, Victoria Hale, our new CEO, finished delivering my presentation. Word for word, slide for slide, the rebrand campaign I had spent 6 months perfecting, the slogan I had whispered to myself at 3 in the morning until it felt right, the creative vision that had saved our company from closing, all of it now hers. My coffee cup cracked in my grip. Hot espresso spilled across my hand, mixing with blood from where the ceramic bit into my palm. I forced a smile anyway. Professional, composed, dead inside. A few colleagues glanced my way. Some looked confused, most looked away quickly. Nobody spoke, nobody defended me. They just clapped louder for Victoria as she bowed, her designer suit catching the spotlight perfectly. That was the moment I understood something fundamental about power. Magic can be stolen if you hand it to the wrong person. But stolen magic only works once. I stayed until the applause died. Then I walked out calmly, leaving a trail of coffee drops on the marble floor behind me. My name is Leah Monroe. I am 32 years old, and until 6 months ago, I believed hard work was enough. I believed talent spoke for itself. I believed the system rewarded people who stayed quiet, did excellent work, and trusted their leaders. I was the senior creative director at Allura, a luxury lifestyle brand known for elegant minimalism and expensive mistakes. For 7 years, I poured everything into that company. Late nights, canceled weekends, relationships that withered because I chose pitch decks over dinner dates. I was not the loudest person in meetings. I did not play office politics. I simply created work that mattered. Campaigns that made people feel something real. Brands that told honest stories. My desk faced the window on the 42nd floor. Every morning I watched the sunrise paint the city gold and told myself today would be the day my work finally got recognized. Today someone would notice. The morning Victoria Hale walked through our glass doors, I had no idea she would rewrite my entire future. I had no idea that the next 6 months would teach me that silence is not the same as peace, and that sometimes the only way to be heard is to let someone else scream first. Victoria arrived like a character from a movie I could not afford to watch. Her suit was cream cashmere, her heels clicked with authority, and her smile could sell anything to anyone. She was 45 but looked 35. Confident but approachable, polished but warm. The board had hired her to modernize our vision. Translation, fix the bleeding revenue and make us relevant again. She had a background in finance, not creativity, but she promised to empower the talent already here. During her first week, she visited every department. She took notes in a leather journal. She asked questions that sounded innocent but felt invasive. What inspired you? What keeps you up at night? What would you change if you could? I answered honestly. I told her about my frustrations with our outdated brand voice. I told her my vision for something bolder. She listened with those sharp green eyes, nodding thoughtfully. "You have something special, Leah," she said, touching my shoulder lightly. "I can tell. We are going to do incredible things together." I felt seen for the first time in years, admired, valued. I should have felt the danger hiding in that admiration. Predators always compliment their prey before they strike. I spent 3 months building the campaign that would become my masterpiece and my curse. I called it Own Your Light. It was inspired by stories of women who had been dimmed by others but found ways to shine again. Personal stories, raw honesty, real empowerment, not the fake corporate kind. I worked through weekends, skipping meals, ignoring texts from friends who stopped inviting me out. Every color choice mattered. Every word had weight. This was not just a campaign. It was a message I needed the world to hear. When it was ready, I scheduled a private meeting with Victoria. She listened carefully, took detailed notes, thus asked smart questions. At the end, she leaned back and exhaled slowly. "This is bold, Leah. Maybe too risky for where we are right now." She tapped her pen against her lip. "Let me think about it. Can you send me all your notes and files for review?" I hesitated for half a second. Something whispered caution, but I ignored it. She was the CEO. She needed context. Transparency builds trust, right? I sent everything, every draft, every research document, every presentation file. 2 weeks later, I got an email. Company-wide update meeting. Attendance mandatory. Exciting news to share. I walked into the conference room expecting routine announcements, Budget updates, new hiring plans, standard corporate theater. Instead, the lights dimmed. Victoria stepped onto the small stage at the front, a presentation remote in her hand. "Today, I want to share the vision that will redefine Allura," she began. The screen behind her lit up. My slides, my fonts, my exact layout. My heart stopped. Then it started racing so fast I felt dizzy. She clicked through each slide, delivering my words with perfect confidence. She told my stories as if she had lived them. She explained my strategy as if she had designed it. She even used the same pause I had practiced before, revealing the tagline. "Own your light," she said, letting the words hang in the air. The room erupted in applause. People leaned forward, impressed. The board members in the front row nodded approvingly. I sat frozen in my chair near the back. My coworkers around me looked confused, glancing between Victoria and me. But nobody spoke. Nobody stood up. Nobody said, "Wait, that is Leah's work." Victoria's eyes found mine across the crowded room. She smiled. Not warmly, knowingly. Then she continued as if I did not exist. After the meeting, I followed Victoria to her office. My hands shook, but I kept my voice steady, professional, calm. "That was my campaign," I said quietly. "Those were my ideas, my slides, my words." Victoria sat behind her massive desk, folding her hands like a teacher about to explain something simple to a confused child. "Leah, you should be proud to contribute. This is how companies work. We all build together. The company owns everything we create here. You signed that agreement when you started. But you presented it as your own vision. You did not mention my name once." "Leadership means taking responsibility for the team's success," she replied smoothly. "I am representing all of us. You understand that, right?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded and left. The next morning, I received an email from HR. "Organizational restructuring. Effective immediately, you are reassigned to brand associate. Your new supervisor will contact you shortly." Brand associate, a junior position. My desk was moved to a cubicle near the copy machines. My project access was revoked. My team was reassigned to someone else. 7 years of work erased in one email. I sat in my new cubicle, surrounded by beige walls, and realized the theft was not just about my campaign. It was about erasing me completely. The isolation started slowly, like fog creeping in. Colleagues who used to grab coffee with me suddenly had urgent meetings. People who laughed at my jokes in the break room now walked past without making eye contact. Rumors spread faster than I could track them. Someone whispered I had a breakdown during the presentation. Another said I tried to steal credit from Victoria. A third claimed I was difficult to work with, always causing drama. Nobody asked me if any of it was true. Lies do not need truth when they are convenient. I ate lunch alone at my desk, scrolling through job listings I never applied to. What was the point? If I left now, Victoria won completely. If I stayed, I suffocated slowly in this beige prison. My mother called one evening. "How is work, sweetheart?" "Fine," I lied, staring at my ceiling. "Everything is fine." But nothing was fine. I was disappearing in real time, erased by a woman who smiled like a saint while burying me alive. The worst part was not the theft, it was the silence around it. Everyone saw what happened. Nobody cared enough to speak. I was learning the cruelest lesson of corporate life. Injustice only matters when it happens to someone important. 3 weeks after my demotion, I stayed late finishing a report nobody would read. The office was empty except for the hum of computers and the distant sound of laughter. I walked past the executive conference room. The lights were on. Through the glass walls, I saw Victoria presenting to the board again. On the screen behind her, my campaign, now updated and polished, ready for the official launch. She gestured confidently. The board members nodded, impressed. One older man actually stood to shake her hand. I stood in the dark hallway, watching through the glass like a ghost haunting her own life. My eyes burned, my throat tightened. But I did not cry. Crying meant surrender. Instead, I whispered to my reflection in the glass, "If she wants to wear my crown, let her keep it warm for me." Something shifted in that moment. The pain transformed into something colder, sharper, more patient. I walked back to my cubicle, opened my laptop, and started a new folder. I named it simply Documentation. If Victoria wanted to bury me, she would have to dig her own grave first. I became a different person after that night. Not louder, quieter. Not angrier, calmer. I smiled at Victoria in meetings. I completed my meaningless tasks without complaint. I became exactly what they wanted: invisible and harmless. But in the hours nobody saw, I worked. I saved every email Victoria sent me. I screenshot every file timestamp showing I created the campaign months before she arrived. I documented every project I built that was later credited to someone else. I learned how to recover deleted files from the server. I learned how to check metadata. I learned the difference between original work and stolen copies. My apartment became an evidence room. Printed emails organized by date, USB drives labeled and cataloged, a timeline written on my wall in careful handwriting, connecting every lie. My friends worried, "You look tired, Leah. You need to let this go." But I could not let it go. Justice was not about feeling better. It was about making sure the truth existed somewhere, even if nobody wanted to hear it yet. I was not planning revenge, I was building a monument to reality. And when the time came, reality would speak louder than any lie. Victoria had patterns. I learned them all. She arrived at 7:30 every morning with a green smoothie. She took calls in her office with the door closed between 2 and 3. She stayed late on Thursdays, preparing for Friday executive meetings. She had favorites, people she praised publicly and used privately. She had enemies, anyone who questioned her too directly. And she had tools. People like Sophie, her executive assistant, who managed her calendar and knew every secret. I befriended Sophie carefully, not obviously, just small kindnesses, compliments on her organization skills, offering to help when she looked stressed. Over coffee one afternoon, she mentioned something casually. "Victoria's been really stressed lately. She keeps asking me to pull old performance reports and change the dates." I kept my face neutral. "Change the dates?" Sophie nodded, lowering her voice. "To make it look like certain projects succeeded under her leadership, even though they were finished before she started." "That sounds complicated," I said gently. "It is. I feel weird about it, honestly." She sipped her coffee, troubled. "But she is the CEO, you know? I cannot exactly say no." I did not push. I just listened and filed away every word for later. The annual company awards ceremony arrived. It was held at a hotel ballroom with expensive wine and speeches about excellence. I attended because not attending would be noticed. I sat at a table in the back, wearing a black dress that felt like armor. The Creative Innovator of the Year award was announced. Victoria's name flashed on the screen. She walked to the stage in a silver gown, accepting the trophy with gracious humility. "This award represents the power of vision and collaboration," she said, holding the trophy high. "It belongs to everyone who believed in our mission." Everyone who believed. Everyone but me, apparently. The person who actually created the vision she was being awarded for. The applause washed over me like acid. But I did not leave. I did not cry. I clapped along with everyone else, my hands moving mechanically while my mind calculated. Let her win this battle. Let her collect her trophy and her praise and her magazine interviews. I was building something bigger, something permanent. She could have this moment. I was designing her last one. I sent the email at 2 in the morning from a library computer, anonymous, untraceable. Subject line, compliance concern, project data inconsistencies. Inside, I outlined specific projects where completion dates had been altered. I included file version histories showing the changes. I mentioned nothing about myself or my campaign, just facts, numbers, timestamps. I knew corporate audits moved slowly. Months, probably. But I was not in a hurry anymore. Revenge is not a sprint, it is architecture. The next week, Victoria seemed different, shorter temper, more coffee. She snapped at Sophie twice in one morning. During a team meeting, I caught her staring at nothing, her jaw tight. "Are you okay?" someone asked. "Fine," she said quickly, "just busy. Lots of responsibilities." But I saw the cracks forming. Paranoia is exhausting. Wondering which of your lies will catch up first slowly destroys you from the inside. I smiled politely across the conference table. Victoria's eyes met mine for a second. Something flickered there. Uncertainty, maybe, or the first cold touch of fear. Good. Sophie knocked on my cubicle wall one afternoon, looking nervous. "Can I talk to you for a second? Somewhere private?" We walked to the building's rooftop terrace, empty except for wind and city noise. Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. "Something is off," she said quietly. "Victoria has been asking weird questions, about you specifically, what you are working on, who you talk to, if you have seemed upset." Why would she care about me? I asked carefully. I do not know, but she is scared of something, and I think it is you. Sophie looked at me directly. She asked me to search your desk yesterday when you were in a meeting. My pulse quickened, but I kept my voice steady. Did you? No, I told her I could not find your key. She paused. Leah, I do not know what is happening here, but whatever it is, be careful. Victoria does not lose gracefully. I touched her arm gently. Thank you for telling me. After she left, I stood alone on the terrace, wind pulling at my hair. Victoria was scared. She was searching. She knew something was coming, but could not see it yet. Perfect. Fear ruins judgment, and Victoria was about to make her worst decisions yet. The quarterly board review was announced. A full-day meeting where executives presented results and strategies. Victoria sent an email. I will handle the presentation personally. Department heads, your attendance is optional. Optional meant not wanted. I was not even a department head anymore, just a brand associate nobody remembered. Victoria probably assumed I would not attend. Why would someone irrelevant show up to executive meetings? But I read the email 3 times, my heart beating faster. Board reviews meant scrutiny, questions, documentation requirements. The board would want proof of everything Victoria claimed. This was not just another meeting. This was an opportunity. I started preparing anyway. Not a presentation, evidence, a timeline, a story told entirely through facts that could not be argued with. I worked late every night that week, organizing everything I had collected. I practiced staying calm, practiced delivering truth without emotion because emotion makes truth look like bias. I printed nothing at the office, used no company computers, left no trail, and then I waited, patient as winter, ready as dawn. 1 week before the board meeting, I mailed a package, small padded envelope, no return address, sent to the board chairman's office. Inside was a flash drive, black, simple, labeled in neat handwriting, timeline of ownership, own your light campaign. The drive contained everything. Original drafts with my metadata, email chains showing I pitched the concept before Victoria arrived, file version histories proving every slide was created on my personal laptop, on my own time, months before her presentation. No accusations, no emotional appeals, just timestamps and documentation that told an undeniable story. I mailed it from a post office 3 towns away. Wore gloves, left no fingerprints. I was not hiding. I was being thorough. The board would receive it, they would review it privately, and they would have questions Victoria could not answer. I went home that night and slept better than I had in months. The pieces were moving. The story was writing itself. All I had to do now was wait for the final act. The days before the board meeting felt strange. Calm, like standing in the eye of a hurricane, knowing chaos surrounded you, but could not touch you yet. Victoria seemed relaxed again. She probably thought the audit scare had passed. She smiled in meetings, complimented people, played the role of beloved leader perfectly. My coworkers assumed I had given up. Leah seems better lately, I overheard someone say. Maybe she finally accepted reality. I did not correct them. Let them think I was defeated. Let Victoria think I was harmless. Underestimation is a weapon when you know how to use it. I completed my meaningless tasks, attended my pointless meetings, smiled when expected, disappeared when convenient. Nobody noticed I had started dressing more carefully. Nobody saw that I was sleeping well for the first time in months. Nobody recognized the quiet in me was not surrender. It was the calm of someone who had finished building something unshakable and was simply waiting for the world to see it. The tension was invisible, but I felt it humming under my skin like electricity. Something massive was coming, and I was the only one who knew exactly what. 3 days before the board meeting, Victoria hosted an investor call. She presented quarterly results, highlighting the success of the Own Your Light campaign. She spoke confidently about engagement rates and brand recognition. Then an investor asked a specific question. Can you break down the timeline from concept to launch? We want to understand your strategic process. Victoria paused, just for a second. Of course, we began development in March, following extensive market research I conducted with the team. I was listening from my cubicle, the call on speaker. March. She said March. But I had pitched the campaign to her in February, and I had started developing it in December, months before she was even hired. Another board member spoke up. The metadata in the presentation files shows earlier dates. Can you clarify that discrepancy? Victoria's voice tightened slightly. Those were preliminary drafts. The real strategy development happened under my leadership. Her answers were smooth, but wrong. And now the board was noticing. I watched from my cubicle as Victoria walked past after the call ended. Her face was pale, her jaw tight. She did not see me watching. The cracks were widening. Soon, the whole structure would collapse. 2 days before the meeting, I received an unexpected email from the board chairman himself. Leah, your presence is requested at Thursday's quarterly review. Your insights would be valuable for transparency purposes. Please confirm attendance. I read it 3 times. My hands shook slightly. This was it. The invitation I needed but had not expected. I replied simply, confirmed. I will bring documentation for clarity. 20 minutes later, Victoria appeared at my cubicle. She looked tired, stressed. I saw you are attending the board meeting, she said carefully. Yes. The chairman requested my presence. What documentation are you bringing? I met her eyes calmly. Just project files. For reference. Nothing dramatic. She studied me for a long moment. I saw her trying to read me, trying to find the threat she knew existed but could not identify. Good, she said finally. I appreciate your cooperation, Leah. This is about moving forward together. After she left, I allowed myself a small smile. Moving forward, yes, just not in the direction she imagined. I had one phrase prepared for the meeting. Not angry, not vengeful, just true. I will bring closure. The night before the board meeting, I did not sleep much. Not from nervousness, from readiness. Like an athlete before the biggest race of their life, body humming with prepared energy. I laid out my outfit carefully. Black suit, white silk blouse, simple jewelry, professional, respectful, funeral appropriate, because tomorrow was a funeral, not for a person, for a lie that had lived too long. I printed my final documentation, every page organized, every fact highlighted, every timeline clear. I practiced staying calm, practiced delivering information without emotion, because emotion makes facts look like feelings. My mother called. How are you, sweetheart? Good, Mom. Really good. And I meant it. You sound different, stronger. I am, I said quietly. I learned something important. Silence is not the same as weakness. Sometimes you stay quiet because you are building something that needs time. I am proud of you, Leah, whatever happens tomorrow. After we hung up, I stood at my window watching the city lights. Somewhere out there, Victoria was probably rehearsing her presentation, confident, prepared, having no idea that tomorrow would be the last time anyone believed her. I whispered to my reflection, rest well tonight, Victoria. Tomorrow, we bury what you built on lies. The boardroom was smaller than I expected. Long table, leather chairs, morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. 8 board members sat waiting. Victoria stood at the head of the table beside a presentation screen. I sat near the back, quiet, unnoticed. Victoria began confidently. She clicked through slides showing revenue growth, brand recognition, market expansion, all tied to the Own Your Light campaign she claimed as her strategic vision. The board members nodded, asked routine questions. Everything seemed normal. Then the chairman cleared his throat. Victoria, before we continue, I have a question about these project timelines. Victoria's smile held. Of course. The file's metadata shows creation dates several months before you joined the company. Can you explain that discrepancy? The room temperature seemed to drop. Victoria's face stayed calm, but I saw her neck flush. Those were preliminary drafts created by the team. I refined and finalized the strategic direction. Interesting. The chairman pulled out a flash drive. My flash drive. Because this documentation tells a different story. Victoria's eyes widened slightly. She looked across the room. Our eyes met. In that moment she knew. She finally understood. The funeral had begun. The chairman connected the flash drive to the presentation system. The screen filled with my original files. Timestamps clear. Metadata undeniable. Email chains showing I had pitched every concept Victoria claimed as her own. These files were created months before your arrival, Victoria, by Leah Monroe. He looked at me. Leah, can you explain this timeline? I stood slowly, walked to the front. Victoria stepped aside, her face white. I did not look at her. I looked at the board. I developed the Own Your Light campaign over 6 months. I presented it privately to Victoria in February, seeking her feedback as CEO. She asked for all my files for review, 2 weeks later, she presented my work as her own strategic vision. That is not accurate, Victoria interrupted, her voice tight. Leah contributed, yes, but I provided the leadership and direction that made it successful. Then can you explain why none of these files exist on company servers? The chairman asked. Why they were all created on Leah's personal laptop outside of work hours. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. The team shares files informally sometimes. Can you explain why Leah's name was removed from all project documentation after you presented? Another board member asked, reading from printed pages. Silence, heavy, damning. Then Sophie's voice from the doorway. I can explain. Sophie walked in, trembling but determined. She looked at Victoria, then at the board. Victoria asked me to alter project files, to change completion dates, to remove Leah's name from contributor lists. She told me it was for organizational clarity, but after I saw the audit inquiry, I kept copies of the original versions. Victoria's face transformed. The polished CEO vanished, replaced by someone desperate and cornered. Sophie, you do not understand the full context. I understand you asked me to delete evidence, Sophie said quietly. I understand Leah created something beautiful and you took credit for it. I understand I helped you do it and I am sorry. The chairman stood. Victoria, this board has serious concerns about ethical violations and fraudulent representation. You are suspended effective immediately, pending a full investigation. This is ridiculous, Victoria snapped, her composure finally cracking. I built this company's success. I turned us around. One disgruntled employee with an agenda does not change that. Leah was not disgruntled until you stole her work and destroyed her career, another board member said coldly. The evidence here is overwhelming. Victoria looked at me finally, really looked at me. You did this. You planned this whole thing. I met her gaze calmly. No, Victoria, you did this. I just made sure the truth survived. The board meeting ended. Security was called. Victoria was escorted out, still protesting, still unable to accept that her carefully constructed empire had collapsed in under an hour. The chairman approached me. Leah, on behalf of this board, I apologize. Your integrity and patience are remarkable. We would like to discuss your future with Alora. Thank you, I said quietly. But I think my future is somewhere else now. I walked past Victoria's office. The door was open. The space already felt empty. I placed my security badge on her desk, a quiet goodbye to the person I had been. I did not feel triumphant. I felt tired, relieved, free. Outside, the afternoon sun warmed my face. I pulled out my phone and typed a single text to my mother. It is done. I am okay, more than okay. Then I walked away from Alora for the last time, not running, not hiding, just walking toward whatever came next, carrying nothing but the truth I had protected. Sophie caught up to me at the corner. What will you do now? I smiled. Something true, something mine, something nobody can steal. We hugged. Then I kept walking. 6 months passed. I did not go back to corporate life. Instead, I opened a small creative agency from my apartment. I called it True North Creative. I specialized in helping small businesses and individuals tell their authentic stories. No corporate politics, no stealing credit, just honest work with people who valued honesty. The money was not great at first, but the work felt clean. Every project had my name on it. Every client knew exactly who created their campaign. Word spread slowly. Leah Monroe does beautiful work, and she actually listens. The Own Your Light campaign won 2 industry awards that year. The board ensured my name was attached to both. I did not attend the ceremonies. The recognition was enough. One afternoon, I got a call from Sophie. I left Alora. I am working for a nonprofit now. No more lying for executives. Good for you, I said warmly. I wanted to say thank you for showing me that integrity matters, even when it costs you everything. It did not cost me everything, I replied, looking around my small office. It gave me everything that matters. After we hung up, I stared at the awards on my shelf. They were nice, but they were not why I did any of this. I did it because silence breaks you. And truth, even painful truth, sets you free. Today I woke to sunrise light filling my apartment. Golden, warm, honest. I made coffee and opened my laptop. 3 new client inquiries waited. A bakery wanting to rebrand, a bookstore needing a campaign, a woman starting a business after leaving an abusive marriage. Real people, real stories, real magic. I thought about Victoria sometimes. I heard she found work at a smaller company eventually, though her reputation followed her. I did not celebrate her fall. I just noted it and moved on. People asked me if I regretted staying quiet for so long, if I wished I had fought back sooner. No, I always said. Patience was not weakness, it was strategy. And it worked. The board meeting had been a funeral, but not for Victoria, really. For my silence. For the version of me who believed staying small kept me safe. For the lie that hard work alone was enough. I buried all of that in one morning. And what grew from that burial was something stronger. Truer. Mine. I pulled out my journal and wrote the final line of a story I had been writing for months. You can steal someone's spotlight, but you cannot steal their sunrise. Outside my window, the city woke slowly, and I woke with it, ready, free, glowing with my own light, finally.